we're here for plenty of cricketing action on a double-header Sunday. We've had a unique day on Saturday with just the one single game. It's also a bit of a sad day, another sad day in world cricket, something we will touch upon later in the show, something that's taken all of us by a bit of surprise and plenty of shock. But for now, we'll do as all cricketers and all sports people would have wanted. The show does go on, and we will let the show go on for the first of two games. Chennai taking on Gujarat. As we mentioned in the preview, not necessarily of massive significance when it comes to movement of points. Chennai are eliminated. Gujarat have a queue next to them. But perhaps significance as far as other teams are concerned, form going into other games, because Chennai could be playing party spoilers. Gujarat will be looking to see who else joins them in the qualifiers. I'm joined here on Cricbuzz Live by Shaun Pollock and Lisa Sthalekar. And we will, of course, tell you about the second game in a little while. But Lisa, we did do a preview to this game, not enough significance when it comes to the actual outcome of the tournament. But for Gujarat, they'll just want to keep winning ways going.
Yeah, really important for them to keep winning. I mean, only a handful of games left in the rounds, and they'll want to make sure that they get all of their players that they want to play in the final. There's some good quality time out in the middle, success. They've had success all the way through the league stages, a couple of hiccups, but really the gods have been shining on them really well. So it's important to finish off this back end of the matches really strongly, and that just sets them up perfectly for the finals.
Yeah, it certainly does. And Shaun, on the other side, again, not much to play for Chennai, but as we've seen with both Chennai and Mumbai, they've started putting things right. Yes, it's too little, too late. But when you consider the pride factor, that never goes away till your last game.
Yeah, 100% proud of performance, and also start to plan for the next year. Have a look at possibilities who could form a valuable part of your team heading into the next year. And there's a few things to be settled. So there's no doubt they'll come out and perform. And sometimes a dangerous situation. We saw in the last game where they were bowled out cheaply. Obviously the pressure's off them, but they can also come out and play carefree cricket. And, if things come off and they get off to a good start, that's when they'll be dangerous. If things go pear-shaped easily, then that's when you can really put the foot on the throat for Chennai. But I would expect they'll be hurting after the last game and what went down, and keen to obviously make some changes, get some new personnel in, but really play some quality cricket.
Well, we will take you through those changes because, as Shaun Pollock said, there are changes, plenty of them. But a quick look at the numbers that matter at this stage of the tournament won't affect these two teams, but everything else in between does have some significance. So you can see Gujarat right there on top with the Q sitting next to their name. Chennai, we haven't put it there, but technically should have an E next to their name because there is no mathematical way they can actually qualify in that top four. But if you look at all the teams in between, enough of them have games against Chennai, enough of them have games against Gujarat, and that's where the qualification scenarios will start to play out. Shaun Pollock, 14 yes, 14 no.
I'm still believing. I'm thinking 14 with the best net run rate's going to get through, which was a bit of a surprise for some people. But having just won 7, lost 7, 50% of your games to still be able to qualify is actually amazing with the quality of cricketers we've got. But it's a race. I mean, everyone's coming around. They've all jockeyed for position. They've got into the final straight, and let's see who can pull off that sprint to get themselves over the line and into the qualification. So it's an exciting week ahead. All will be revealed. And even the game tonight is going to be quite entertaining with regards to what goes down.
Well, maybe we just update scenarios.com in that way with permission from the chairman and managing director. Let's put up our own version of that because we used 14 as a benchmark and tried to find a way where all these teams could end up on 14. Now, many of them look feasible. Rajasthan lose both, not impossible. Chennai are dangerous at this stage. Bangalore lose to Gujarat, definitely possible. Delhi lose to Punjab, beat Mumbai. So far, so good, Shaun?
Yeah, I mean, these are all possibilities. This wouldn't be something that people would bet against, would they? I mean, this could definitely happen.
Yeah, so it's not unlikely, Lisa. I mean, we're not talking about bizarre scenarios of one team losing 6 games in a row.
No, we are talking about their last game or their last two games. And then you can see the number of those teams are meeting Mumbai and Chennai, and we spoke about it last night as well. They can be the real party poopers when it comes to stopping a team from progressing. They're not going to be in the finals, but boy, they can make it extremely hard for some of those teams that they're going to meet. So right now, I wouldn't want to be a Hyderabad side potentially, even a Delhi. So it's a real tough road for some of those. So this week will be fascinating.
Yeah,
and you'll actually find that a lot of the teams that support their team will be cheering for, like, for instance, tonight, I'm sure there's a lot of people cheering for Rajasthan to have an absolute shocker. Yeah,
that will change the equation for a lot of teams, because they featured very prominently in that list of scenarios.com/14 #CanItHappen. But we'll find out very soon. The play 11s, Shaun Pollock's already mentioned he expects a few changes from Chennai. Firstly, the toss. It's MS Dhoni who's won the toss, doesn't want to field in the heat. They're batting first. This is their team. 4 changes, and we'll take you through it. We were just internally making a team, Shaun, of all the overseas players who haven't actually got a game. And unfortunately now Matisha Patirana, who gets into this 11, gets out of that team that we made. Solanki comes in, Jagadisan comes in, Santner we've already seen. So really the look of this team is about giving everybody a shot, Shaun.
Yeah, very different in many ways. And we saw Ambati Radu, and he had his tweet where he was done and then he wasn't done, and he doesn't play today. So there's the opportunity. But I think still it's going to go down to the main performers, who they're looking to. At the top of the order, you're going to look Gakwad and Conway. If they can lay a good foundation, Mohan Ali can find the batting form that we've seen from him in the past, they give themselves a chance. Chowdhury, I've been really impressed by. I think he's really excited me from what I've seen, considering he wasn't even in any team or any squad at the start of the IPL. And you think if you put him in combination with Chahar once he's fit next season, the two guys swinging it away and swinging it in with the left-hander, I think they've got something special there. So it's an opportunity for those guys to state a claim for future representation in this Chennai team. And as I say, with all the retirements and the tweets and all those kind of things going around, I'm not surprised there's a few changes.
Yeah, the 4 changes, in case you haven't spotted them, the 4 men left out are Mahesh Theekshana, Dwayne Bravo, Robin Uthappa, and Lisa, the man we've spoken about. Ambati Raidu just dropped, not retired.
Yeah. There's crazy things going on in Chennai this year. You just get a sense not everything is as rosy as it normally is. They're normally the rock solid franchise that stay very close to 12, 11 players. They hardly make any changes. Things haven't gone well. They've been forced to make changes, even when they were still mathematically able to make it in the finals. Mahendra Singh Dhoni actually came out and said, you know what, we're going to give younger guys an opportunity to see who can, perform under pressure and then probably earn a spot next year. I find it fascinating that they're still holding on to Mitch Satner at number 3. I find that fascinating. They must see something in him that they feel like he's potentially someone who can be quite destructive at the top. But it's good that everyone's getting an opportunity, because you do feel for that, a lot of those guys that give up a lot of time, they're in a bio bubble, but yet never get on the park to play.
Shaun, what did you make of the tweet that never was?
Well, I do know Ambati Radu. I mean, I've worked a little bit with him obviously at the Mumbai Indians, and he's quite an emotional individual. So I don't know what went on after the last game that made him get into that space. I mean, we saw a similar kind of thing when he didn't make the Indian squad. So this is not like it's totally foreign with regards to behavior from him. But maybe he just got into that headspace where he felt like he's had enough. And then once people have seen the message, they would have called him over the next 30 minutes and said, are you sure about this? Don't you want to give yourself more time to think about it? And who knows, maybe he still will retire. But I think what they want to do is have discussions with him and see how they can maybe make it work. He's been such an integral part of their performance over the last ever many years. And to throw away that kind of experience, I think also bio bubbles are dangerous places for the players. Mentally it's very, very challenging. And you take him out of that environment and say to him, listen, have 3 or 4 months off. And then all of a sudden he might be quite excited about another opportunity. So I think it was damage control. Get that tweet down and let's have a chat after the tournament and see what we can do.
Interesting that Shaun should mention that. But if we have an overall look at the picture, Shaun Pollock's already mentioned when I said about Chennai and nothing much to play for and playing for pride. The first thing he said in response was, and planning for next season. Now, Lisa, it's not a coincidence. Let's leave Tikshan out of it. The other 3 players left out, DJ Bravo, Robin Uthappa, Ambati Rayudu. That's not a coincidence.
No, they know what they can do, don't they? They've seen them time and time again in IPL, whether it be with Chennai or other franchises. They know that they're seasoned performers. They're coming to the back end of their career. So time to give some younger guys an opportunity. I mean, we labelled Chennai a few years ago, the dad's army, with Shane Watson there, all of them were, 30 odd plus that playing 11, and they did well. I mean, that was the core group that won them another title as well. But they're going through an evolution, a change, and with that means you've got to find different players to put their hand up. So here's a chance with 2 games left. What can they do? So I'm glad to see that a few of these guys that have been warming the bench and running the drinks and probably doing all of the right things at training and fitness, they get a chance to finally get out there.
Yeah, just having a look at that squad, obviously we've got the previous 11 that played, that included Uthappa, included Ambati Rayudu, but yeah, obviously it's the road ahead for Chennai, Shaun.
Yeah, I think the key here is the captaincy. If you're starting to plan for next year, who is going to be your man in charge? Is Dhoni going to play another season? Why wouldn't he at this stage, the way he's gone? I think he's been good this year. I mean, after last year, we thought that was done, but there's been a vast improvement by the way he's played. I know him and Stephen Fleming. I'm trying to think which is the team that they were involved with when Chennai were banned. They went in and they had also a very average season and bounced back brilliantly once they got back to Chennai. So, yeah, Pune, yeah. So I think that's the key for them. They first of all need to work out who's our leader, who's going to take us going forward. And then you sort of fit in the puzzle pieces around it. As Lisa says, we know what those 3 guys can do. And will they be part of it? The rumors that surface, we don't know if they're 100%, but maybe they won't be. Maybe Bravo's had enough. Maybe Radu's had enough, and maybe Robin Uthappa's had enough. And then you need to try and find guys who can step in, because they're a very proud franchise. Also, the Jadeja issue. I mean, what's that going on the outside? What has or hasn't unfolded there? Time will tell. Basically, always after the tournament, a couple of weeks down the line, basically a lot of stuff tends to come out once you're not in your own little environment. But I think people are also looking around. In the old days, it was a case of point of, well, we really want to be part of either Mumbai, Chennai, maybe Kolkata, because those are the 3 franchises who end up winning. But I think this year, what it's done is it's thrown everything on its head, and people have looked. I mean, someone like a Pandya has gone and captained another team, and now all of a sudden it looks like, hey, hold on, we can actually move from these franchises and we can have a success and we can go on and maybe win it. Whereas a lot of the thinking might have been, well, it was like the Manchester United or Manchester City days where if you want to win the Premier League, you have to go to one of those teams. But people are starting to think, hey, hold on, maybe I don't. Maybe there's a path for me in another franchise and a fresh experience. So it's going to be interesting to see what unfolds after the season's finished.
All the more so if there's a brand new team that gets hold of the trophy, which there is a huge likelihood of happening, because Chennai, Mumbai, Kolkata, Hyderabad, all of them at the bottom 4 at the moment, all title holders. Only Rajasthan can take a second title. Anyone else wins, it's going to be a first-time winner. That's where we stand at this stage. Just a quick look in case you want a reminder. Gujarat, Lucknow, Bangalore, Delhi, any of them win, or even Punjab, they are going to be first-time winners. Kolkata, of course, just sneaked up 1 place to get out of the top 4. Hashtag Ask Cricbuzz Live. You contribute so many questions. What do we have today? And yeah, it's related to the entire Chennai issue. MSD's succession plan A didn't work out. What will plan B look like? Another in-house promotion like Ruturaj, or an outside hire like Faf for RCB? A lot of possibilities. We gave some suggestions to Kolkata yesterday, Lisa. How about some for Chennai?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know the credentials of Ruturaj and whether he has captained in the past from a domestic level. He seems like a pretty cool, calm, collected character. He seems embedded in Chennai. They've brought the best out of him. They've given him the opportunities. It would be nice if they could hire within, keep it within the family, so to speak. But it may take a couple of years where maybe he becomes vice captain and he's kind of groomed. So do they go for Dhoni one more year, or do they actually find someone else, an overseas international, just to come in and just fill the spot for, potentially 2 years until Ruturaj is ready?
Yeah, I mean, that could just be the case. There are a lot of possibilities. We're not sure he's shown enough in Gaikwad's case in terms of leadership. There are some other natural leaders, maybe a Shubman Gill at Gujarat looks like a possible future franchise leader, but someone else has to be looked for sure. Shaun?
Yeah, I just think if you want to go Gaikwad, you've got to give Dhoni another year and really take him under his wing. And what I'd want to see is a lot of the decisions that have been made on the field, the two of them having a discussion about what should or shouldn't happen, so that he can actually, in the heat of battle, be sounding him out, be putting ideas into his mind, so that the year on he takes it. If Dhoni decides he's not going to be around next year, then I'm afraid you're going to have to go outside the camp. I don't think Gaikwad at this stage would be capable of taking that responsibility on his shoulders, particularly with what there might be an outflux of all that experience. If you've got those experienced campaigners in and around you, then maybe you can make it work. But you'll probably have some very new, wet behind the ears individuals to captain, and I think that would be too big of a challenge for him at this stage.
So the other way to look at this balance, you've got Chennai on the one side with so many titles, so much experience playing a first-time franchise who are actually flying high at the top of the table. Logically speaking, Chennai have made changes as we expected. Logically speaking, Gujarat have made none, just as we expected. However, if we have a look at the squad, Lisa, I'll come to you first. We were happy for them not to make any changes because this is the stage of the tournament we want to settle down. But where is Lockie Ferguson?
Yeah, well, I guess we're coming to the back end of the tournament, aren't we, as well? So the pitches are a little bit drier. I mean, that may change when you go for the finals to Kolkata, and if they progress, obviously, to Ahmedabad. So at the moment, I think they've made the right decision. Sai actually bowls well, tall left arm spinner who gets some good bounce and troubled Mumbai last time. So I'm glad that they've kept him in. So it makes sense potentially for the pitch that they're about to play on. That may not, like I said, it may change for the finals.
But otherwise, logically speaking, Shaun, you would also advocate top of the table, getting towards the playoffs, not only keep the winning momentum, and that's not always in your hands, but keep the winning squad on play.
Yeah, in these tournaments, you actually look at certain individuals and you don't always get that many deliveries at the crease and opportunities to come into certain pressure situations, particularly in the middle order. So the more exposure that you can get as a batting unit, you want to keep everyone in the same position so they understand their role, they understand what they might face. Mentally, they're not a good space about sitting on the side or not getting enough practice. So it makes no sense for me to make too many big changes. The only thing you do is if you've got a bowler who's got a slight niggle, you make sure you rest him. If there's someone who's like so important to the mix and you're worried about him getting injured in a certain game, maybe keep him for the knockouts. But in general, just keep the guys ticking over. Bowling wise, trust me, 4 overs in the middle, much better than any net practice you're going to do. So don't come to practice. Don't do anything on the off days, but just play the match under the pressure. Keep your skills sharp, and that when we head off to the knockout stages, we'll be good. Lockie Ferguson also, to me, over the years, a guy who can just come in. We saw his impact. He was left out of Kolkata for many games, and then all of a sudden at the back end reintroduced, and he was good to go. So he's not one of those guys who would need extra overs. If they get to the playoffs and Kolkata surface offers something different, I'm sure he can just step in. I don't think that'll be a big ask.
Yeah, and he knows the surface well. Whatever changes there might have been in it, at least they know for sure that they are flying to Kolkata. They're the only team who know that with absolute certainty. But Chennai aren't going to be going there. What they are going to be doing is batting first. Having won the toss, MS Dhoni, no hesitation, afternoon game. Let's have a bat, 4 changes. But where they haven't made changes, for obvious reasons, Lisa, right at the top. Rituraj Gaikwad, Devon Conway, that's been the success story for them in the second half. Obviously, it's come a little late, but a lot of focus on Conway today.
Yeah, and hopefully DRS is up and running as well. I did feel for him that first delivery. But yeah, they've been outstanding at the top as a pair, and it was great to see Devon Conway. I mean, he played, I think, the first game for Chennai at the top, and then obviously went and got married as well. He's come back. He's a happy marriedly man. Now he's scoring runs as well. So look at that strike rate of 154. Healthy average. So he'll want to finish off the season really well, because he's almost got 2 feet on that plane for next year and opening the batting for Chennai.
Yeah, let's just hope everybody who's listening to this doesn't think of themselves, okay, out of form with the bat, let's just go get married.
Go get married.
At the moment, all the players who are out of form, Shaun, they're all married, all happily married. So the Kohlis and the Rohit Sharmas can't quite go do that.
Yeah, this is very dangerous territory to go into, where the marriage is or isn't affecting your form or your performance. So we'll just steer clear of that. But also no surprise they decide to bat first. I think that's where their strength still lies in their team. Obviously, a few unknown sources in the bowling department, and who's going to play the role of someone like a Dwayne Bravo at the back end. We'll have to wait and see that. But I think with all the changes they made, it makes perfect sense, and the heat, to have won the toss and bat first, and they'll be hoping to post something in around the area of like 177 or something like that.
Very well put. Very well put. Shaun wants to save us a little time at the end of the show, so I will not need to direct a question at him. That's already in the bank. Lisa, it's just you and me to try and figure out if we can get around Shaun's 177. But that, of course, is going to be later in the show. Up top, Devon Conway, Rituraj Gaikwad, he went through that phase. We seem to have forgotten about it now. 5, 6 matches was it in a row that he failed, and then finally came back with a little bit of a score and then put his season right. So he'll want to show that it is just moving in the right direction. Again, personally looking at next season for him.
Yeah, it's a huge opportunity for him. And I mean, he'll be disappointed because he showed us very similar form last year. Was pretty slow at the start and then became big at the end. So he'll want to continue that kind of trend, and then hopefully next year he can start off with an absolute bang. But it's important for him just to keep his confidence going. Obviously, the partnership with Conway, you feel like they've got a nice little combination, and they understand each other's games really well. So this match is important for both those individuals and as an opening pair.
I think more important is for Gujarat is Hardik Pandya. I think he needs to get going. I think he is a key player. If they want to win this title, he needs to be firing. And he's gone through a bit of a lean patch and not playing as well as he did brilliantly at the start of the tournament. So I think for me, he's the one I'm keen to watch and see if he can, back at the ground where he plays pretty well, let's see if he can get himself back into proper nick. Because I think his facts and figures, his stats haven't shown great reading over the last short while.
And by me, Shaun, yeah, exactly. I was going to ask Shaun that as a follow-up question. I'll come to you, Lisa, as well on that. Shaun, you want him to bowl as well, don't you? It's just not the nick with the bat. How good was he as an all-rounder early on?
Exactly, it was really important, and considering he's the captain, he'd like to know that he's got another 2 overs from another bowler up his sleeve, because that takes away the stress from a captaincy perspective. So I think if there's any chance of him sneaking in an over tonight as captain, it's very easy to manage the situation and get yourself on where you don't have to put your body under too much stress, and maybe you can get away with just 6 deliveries, just to see that you're okay, and that when the knockouts come, you've got an extra option.
Not ideal to have your first outing in a while with ball in hand under the heat, Lisa.
No, it isn't, but it means he's warmed up, ready to go, right? All of his muscles are firing. But yeah, you'd like to think that he'd find a way just to sneak in 1 over. I don't think And I don't expect to see him bowl 2, 3, 4. I mean, I'll be very surprised if that happens. But, slowly build up so that he's ready to go. I mean, we're not privy and we don't get to see training and how many deliveries he's kind of going through there. But hopefully he's building up his workload so that he can have an impact with the ball in hand in the finals especially.
Well, at the start of the show, I did mention another very, very sad day for world cricket. The loss of an iconic all-rounder in Andrew Symonds, a personality who's left an impression in many parts of the world. Of course, off the field as well, people remember him, entered the commentary box, came into the Champions League as a commentator, before that as a player. And of course, he's been quite an icon around the world. At least I think we're all in shock about that. But the one way we tend to remember players is with fond memories rather than go into mourning about someone who's done so much for sport.
Yeah, I mean, he was just amazing. And, I was representing my country at the same time he was. And he was a guy that we looked up to. And anything he did in the field, an all-rounder, I mean, we called him the flying Superman simply because he was just so dynamic in the field. You wanted to emulate how he was able to stop a ball or pick up a run out. And I was working at Cricket New South Wales, and you would see kids in like the T20 blast that we would have for school, and they'd all be kind of doing the Superman dive at the end and trying to flick the ball back. That's some of the fondest things that I remember. The hair, the zinc, the off spin, the medium pace, the long handle, the grey nick bat, the sixes going into the stand. He was also very loved by his teammates. He was the type of guy that they just wanted to be around, a fun-loving guy. And he was great in the commentary box as well. Always kind of went a different angle and had a huge fielding focus, which is unlike commentators. We tend to kind of stick to batting and bowling.
Shaun, your memory is probably perhaps the time in Mumbai.
Yeah, very sad. I mean, the first time I met him, obviously, was on the county circuit. I still hadn't decided whether he was going to play for England or Australia at that stage. He was playing for Kent, I think it was. But yeah, a very athletic individual. Fantastic ability with both bat and ball. So very sad. We had some good times at the Mumbai Indians with him. 2 seasons where he was part and parcel of it, and an astute cricket brain. Didn't get to interact with him much off the field in our playing days, but at Mumbai I got to know him a lot better and got to see how his brain ticked over. So yeah, very sad. No surprise he went into the commentary. Plenty of commentary from him on the field while we were playing. Comments like, "There's blood in the water, boys, I can see it, and these guys are in trouble." But he was one of those guys who brought a lot of energy to the Australian team, and they loved having him around because of the way he conducted himself and those kind of pictures there. The efforts he used to put in, he really raised the level of everything. So, yeah, another sad day. You do feel for Australian cricket. Another fantastic individual who's passed away.
Some of those memories that we saw there, Lisa's second World Cup trophy that he was so fondly holding, the reaction to getting a Boxing Day 100, that was incredible stuff, because for the longest time we saw him wearing the green and gold, but not necessarily looked at as the red ball player.
Yeah, and he loved Test cricket, and his teammates believed that he could have and play such an impact in the Test game, and that Boxing Day 100 with his great mate Matthew Hayden. I think he nearly decapitated him when he jumped up. He definitely squashed his nose, and he was a guy that could play all formats. And no doubt the opposition kind of were terrorised by the fact that you might get a Ponting, you might get Matthew Hayden, you might get Michael Clarke out, but you've still got Andrew Symonds still waiting in the wings. So Australia was very lucky to have him in all the formats.
All we can say from all of us at Cricbuzz Live is rest in peace, Roy. We'll continue to celebrate a wonderful career, a wonderful human being, and it certainly is a sad day for world cricket. We'll just take a pause and head off to Joy's question for the day. This is where we get our brain cells in order, even on a Sunday afternoon. And this time Joy has gone off on a tangent. Which cricketer got his nickname because of his resemblance to a legendary NBL player? So, well, we'll try and work on that and try and let you know exactly what the answer was. Hashtag Cricbuzz Live. This is not something you can just Google, get in there and figure it out. You can't ask Joy because he's busy. He's busy in Match Party. How do you get there? Maybe you can get there and ask him the answer if you're really that desperate. Hashtag Match Party. Get on Cricbuzz Plus. Subscribe to it. You can be part of Match Party for both games, 3:15 and 7:30 for the second game tonight. Shaun Pollock has to take no further part in this discussion because he's already given us his score, 177 for Chennai batting first. Lisa, you and I, what are you going for?
Now, I'm going to go nice and close to Shaun. I'm going to go 171.
171. I'm going a lot lower than that. I just feel they've made a few changes. Gujarat desperate to keep things on track. Fabulous bowling attack. They're not getting more than 159. Ooh. So let's see how we go. 159, 171, 177. Confidently said even before I asked the question from Shaun Pollock. We will be back to see how far down the road Chennai are batting first in the 10th over on Cricbuzz Combox. Until then, from Shaun, Lisa and myself, that's all we have on Cricbuzz Live.